Hello and welcome to Underdogs, Bootstrappers, and Game Changers. This is for those of you that are starting with nothing and using business to change their stars. Motivating people who disrupted industry standards. This is the real side of business. This isn't Shark Tank. My aim with this podcast is to take away some of the imaginary roadblocks that are out there. I want to help more underdogs because underdogs are truly who change the world. This is part of our Content for Good initiative. All the proceeds from the monetization of this podcast will go to charitable causes. It's for the person that wants it. Hello and welcome to another episode of Underdogs, Bootstrappers, Game Changers. And boy, I've got a treat for you today. I've got a good friend here once again, Dr. Shell.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So Dr. Shell is a badass in so many ways. And she's number one, longtime mixed martial artist. Currently number one contender.
Ranked number 4 in the world for Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships, BKFC, which is a professional bare knuckle boxing league. Which
is something Conor McGregor just picked up?
Yes, Conor McGregor is a co-owner, and it's one of the fastest growing combat sports, and it's a really exciting sport. It's one of those ones that you don't have to be a fighter to understand. It's go from the start.
So Dr. Shell is a bare knuckle boxer. And she's obviously a doctor, and her specialty is around hormonal health, blood work, everything that kind of gets the race car ready to drive, right, is in your body. And she's also a wife to a cop who's out in the field every day, and 3 kids.
Yep, correct. 3 kids, 9, 7, and a 3-year-old boy.
So you heard all that right. Dr. Shell is all 3. Underdog, bootstrapper, game changer, because she also owns her own clinic. And so I really wanted to have a conversation with Dr. Shell today because I know how important fitness has been in my life. Some of you in the audience know my undergrad's in biochemistry, huge fitness nut, been involved with the mixed martial arts world for a long time, myself, weightlifting world, lots of different hobbies around sport and fitness, and I think it's so important for business. And so Dr. Shell and I have some interesting conversations, and that's what I want to help you with today, is we're going to talk about fitness because this avatar that you have to navigate life with, it is important it's strong. It is important it's healthy. It is important that your stress levels are maintained. And with business, and you don't have any sort of fitness routine, it's like I tell people all the time, it's like you are going to need it for the stress. The fitness is going to be imperative because otherwise they can pick up a drink, Yep. And if your way in dealing with stress is to pick up a drink and you get into business, you're going to be picking up a drink all the time, or you can pick up a weight, right?
Absolutely. Positive outlets are very important for anyone who's trying to achieve great things or kind of fill their plate in life. And so mental strength is a thing, and it's hard to practice that without some sort of physical challenge. It kind of goes hand in hand when you're physically challenging yourself. That really is when the mental gymnastics are done and mental strength is made.
Yeah. And where we're going to go kind of base level today. And so some of you folks that have been into fitness, I think you're going to get a ton out of this conversation. But also I want to make sure to get down to a level where if you haven't started yet, it's because one of my goals in this world is to build more kind-hearted badasses. And part of that is we have to get you an avatar worthy of doing that. I get people that come up to me in the gym all the time, especially in the locker room, and they're like, your goals, my fitness and stuff like that. And the thing is, any of you could have what I have as far as fitness is concerned. Anybody could have what Dr. Shell has.
I absolutely feel that. I feel that in everything that I've done, even getting into mixed martial arts, I was kind of thrown in there, and I didn't have any training. I just fought, 12 days later.
Yeah.
It wasn't met with the biggest support. A lot of people are kind of like, who is she? And, I was trying to influence, and encourage all women to get into it. It's kind of like, look at me, like I didn't do it. Little did I know that kind of attitude was going to be met with, a lot of negativity by people who did train. But ultimately, if you believe in yourself and you're up for a challenge and, you got the basics in line, you're fit and you're healthy, there's a lot of fitness competitions that we can do. And I bounced back and forth from competing in fitness competition shows in the bikini division. And, I qualified many times for the nationals, and I I don't know why I got into bikini, but it's more so just you compete and you strength train in the gym, and you want to see where you stand. You want to compete in something, and so that competitive drive, kind of got me in the door for fitness competitions, which aren't necessarily my thing. It's kind of out of my place to be in heels and hair and makeup. So that's always a challenge that I try to get through when I do those competitions. But it's totally opposite when I'm fighting. When I'm fighting, I'm calm the whole time. It really is my safe place and my place where I get to challenge myself, and that's it's hard to explain, and I think many fighters and martial artists, they understand it's just a drive to be physically and mentally challenged, and mixed martial arts is really the ultimate physical and mental challenge.
And it's a chess match. That's what I love.
Exactly. It is a mental chess match. You have to be one step ahead of your opponent.
Yeah.
You really have to be in tune with their body language. It's a lot more than just going over the technique, and so there's a lot more to having fighter IQ than just going through the motions.
It's so nice to have like backup plan too, right? It's like if you're like boxers, like you're a bare knuckle boxer, it's like you have to be incredible at just boxing. It's like, but if you're kicking my butt boxing, I still have options in the mixed martial arts world, right?
Exactly. And you know what? Like my background is in MMA. I've had, I think maybe 18 or so MMA fights. And so I'm very experienced in mixed martial arts and a lot of Muay Thai. And it's one of those things that my strength was always my 1-2, which is, the basics of what's needed in a boxing fight or really any fight. And, that came very naturally as a background in tennis. I feel like just the swing of the racket came naturally from my 1-2. And, it's just, owning on the basics for any competition or athletics that you do is very important. And that's what I say for really anything is you got to own the basics, even in health. It's you got to get the basics in line.
Yep. Business too. It's like it's like everybody overlooks the basics. It's like, what's the trick?
Yep.
What's the miracle pill today that we're gonna take to go out and be fit? It's like the basics.
Yep.
It's always
miracle
the basics.
Pill or miracle workout. Like some people will be doing just crazy workouts and stuff, but and those can be fun and exert yourself in different ways. But for ultimate kind of strength training, I've been doing curls, for 15 years. There's certain exercises that, are of course, like, squats, deadlifts, the foundational lifts.
Let's get to that actually, because I want to talk a little bit about the way you and I'll get involved in the conversation there too. Like the way we learned to fitness, right? Yeah. Tell me the way you learned fitness. How did you figure this fitness thing out?
Yeah, you know what? I was really blessed with my very first job during high school. I worked at a nutrition store.
Yeah.
And so I was in the environment as a teenager seeing these adults who were very in shape, and they were interested in their health, and they were using their protein every week or every month, and are coming in to purchase protein every month, and they're on these supplements and just very fit people, and it's adults who were just working out every day. And so I was very lucky to be exposed to that environment, and then myself started doing protein and fish oil pills and things like that. And that's what initially inspired me, hey, maybe I should go try to do some exercise and kind of get back into athletics. I had a background in childhood in tennis and sports and things like that, so I was athletic as a kid, but I kind of lost it in high school. It's something that I kind of just pushed myself into going, and what I initially did was anything that I was comfortable with, and I did cross country and track in school. So basically what I would do is I just turned the treadmill on flat, and I would just run. I'd run for I'd just listen to my music, and I'd run a couple miles, and that would be it.
A lot of women don't realize that they should pick up some weights, right?
You know what? And for the longest time, I didn't realize that. I was working at the nutrition store, and a lot of them are the bikini models. They're on the cover models. They're fitness models that are obviously on supplements and things like that. And for the longest time, I didn't even really clue into what they might be doing for their exercise. I thought that they were probably doing the treadmill, doing the Stairmaster and things like that. So initially, that's what I started going into. And, then I, competed just for fun to kind of see where I stood against, fit, competitors. And I did the bikini competition, and, I won, and my goal was kind of dang, I have potential. Maybe I could, go for, national qualifications and things like that. And so, that was just my goal, because, competitive drive is something that, it changes my training, the way that I think, and the way that I approach my training. And
there's no doubt it makes it more like
exactly. There's something about any type of competition that really drives me.
Yeah.
It's not like you know, and it's not a negative pressure in any way either. It's just I love to compete, and I've really always been like that. I've always wanted to compete. You know, I had an older brother, and I always wanted to try to be better, and always be against someone who's bigger and stronger, and just the challenge is something about that. That's what I like. And so you know, in strength training, yes, you can see your body change and you're getting stronger, but I really like the goals of you know, trying to get it all throughout the body. It encourages you to do squats and not just do, you know, shoulders and upper body, and you know, you're working on your whole body. And the second I learned about weights was the second that I really saw my body transforming.
Yeah, tell them about the efficiencies around, you know, it's not just lifting a weight, it's not just putting on muscle, because that's what women are fear of. Like talk to me about the efficiencies of strength training.
Yeah, so I mean, wait, what do you mean by that?
The fact that when you're lifting weights, when you're putting on muscle, what that does for body fat.
Gosh, I mean, the way that muscle works is that muscle is highly metabolic. And it's something that it's going to be burning calories and helping us with our glucose storage and production and usage.
Yep.
And the more muscle that you have, too, the more insulin receptors that you have. So there's a lot going on under the hood that we can benefit from muscle. Muscle really does dictate our metabolism. And a lot of us, you know, kind of forget about that or you know, maybe haven't had that discussion to learn that. I certainly didn't know that like I said, for the longest time. I was, you know, dealing with customers who had a lot of muscle, and I didn't realize that they were strength training. And, you know, until we realize that as women, how important muscle is for longevity and our, you know, our energy, our health, our mood, just the way that our body, just the way that our body works, and how hard it is as we age to keep that muscle.
Yep.
You know, we got to take advantage of our youth and you know, strength train now, because it only gets harder as we age.
There's a historic nature to muscle too. It's like, I'm sure you heard this, like rolling jiu-jitsu and stuff. It's like the old man strength. You know, it's like people actually tease me about having that these days, the old man strength. And there's a certain memory to muscle, and so that's why the earlier you start it, in my opinion, like the more you can get it back easier, the more it lasts. You know, it's like, but for women too, I want to bring your point home. You know, I tend to do that on this show, is like adding some strength training to your workout will also have efficiencies in fat burning, and you'll look better.
Absolutely.
Feel better.
If our ultimate goal is weight loss and fat burning, cardio is good. It's important. It warms us up. It does burn some calories. But the ultimate metabolic boost is going to be from building muscle. And I always say, like, the cool thing about building muscle is not only are you burning calories during that workout, you're now burning calories when you go home and when you're eating and when you're sleeping. You're constantly a fat burning machine when you're building that muscle. And for women, you know, I commonly come across the fear that we'll get too bulky. And you know,
you got to work hard to be bulky.
It really is. I've been working my whole life to get bulky, and you know, when I lean out for fights, I can look pretty shredded and pretty jacked, but normally it's not something like it's just not something that I see in my future ever getting to a point you know, ever where I reach my goals. You know, it is something that yes, women can get bulky, but it's not something that we can really do naturally.
Let's talk to them. I want to back up a little bit. Let's talk to them about how to get started. I'll weigh in a little bit, and I want you to pick up after me. I started lifting weights by getting a book called Strength Training Anatomy. And in fact, like, I am going to buy somebody that book that's watching the episode. So if you're the first one to put something in the comments or reach out to me first, we'll make it an Easter egg hunt. Whoever I hear from first or see from first, I'm going to buy you this book. And it's called Strength Training Anatomy. And what I love about it is it will not only show you the exercise, but it also shows these color diagrams about the muscle that it worked. And so basically, I had read about, like, you should do, I can't remember at the time what it's always changing. We know, like, what's the recommendations, and depending on who you talk to, there's different recommendations. But at that time, it was like 3 body parts, you know, like 3 sets, 10 reps, around there, depending on what you're trying to do. You know, I'm going to leave it right at that. It gets more complex, right? But you basically, the gist is you go in this book and you pick out a couple exercises for your back day, you know, for your leg day, that sort of stuff. And I thought the book was invaluable, and it really does a good job of explaining, and that's how I learned to lift weights, was that. And then I picked up more stuff along the way. Did you have somebody that taught you how?
You know what I did? I was really just sticking my nose into it. I just knew that I needed it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was just blessed to be able to be in that environment where it just kind of clicked in my brain. Like, this is, something that looks like it's pretty important.
Yeah.
These people are really healthy, and that's what I want to be like. I want to be strong and confident. So that's what drew me into getting into the gym. And as someone who was very timid to kind of go to the gym, it was kind of an unknown environment. I
felt the same way.
I didn't really know what I was going to do. So
Yeah.
that's why, like I said, for maybe like a month or two, I was only going on the treadmill. So I'd go every day, run a couple miles, keep my head down, stay in my bubble, and just get out of there. And then eventually I was like, okay, like, I started learning that, a lot of these women who are in bikini competitions and they really have a strong aesthetic looking body. Like, that is coming from weights. Like all of them are doing, actually a lot of them are incredibly strong. A lot of those women are really incredibly strong, doing strength training as a daily incorporation into their workouts. But when I started incorporating weight training, eventually I picked. I just Googled kind of top exercises for shoulders, and that seemed to be one that I could hide in the corner and do the free weights.
Yeah.
Right. So I learned a few exercises that I could comfortably do in whatever space in the gym, and I would add kind of one exercise on at a time, like as I became good and comfortable at what I was doing. And I really did the same thing over time. Like I really am a fan of if you're uncomfortable, just baby steps and do the same thing every time. And consistency is very powerful when you're first starting out. That's one of the easiest ways to really see the results start to come too.
And that's something I definitely wanted us to get to today too. It's like, it doesn't have to be, we're giving you the benefits of weightlifting, and I think eventually, no matter what you do, you should add that to your routine. But it's like, start with it. Like, we both really like to get in the gym and hit the bag, like both of us really enjoy that. You hit pads with your coach, I'm sure, I used to get in and hit pads all the time. It's like, I train longsword with my brother at a medieval martial arts gym, it's like, and so like, think of things that are things you're interested in, right? And like, then, like, step into the other stuff too, because like we're talking about, it's like, if you're out there and let's say boxing's your thing, or, like dance or, whatever, you'll eventually get to the point where I'd like to be a little bit better at this. And then if you add the weightlifting, if you add a little bit of cardio to that, you will get better at it, right?
Absolutely. And the whole point of longevity and preserving age is muscle. Muscle is what keeps us alive. And, no matter what sport you're doing, if there's no resistance training involved in that, and we're not building muscle, then we should be trying to incorporate a little bit of strength training into whatever our sport is.
And start by being just active in something. Yoga, like, it starts with being active and finding something you like and you'll stay with. And then please, for the love of the world, don't get the worst trainer on the planet. If you get these trainers that kick your butt day one, it's like, shame on them. It shouldn't be like that. It should be going in and going through the motions. That should be day one. That should be day two. And then if you can't find somebody that's going to be easygoing like that on you, please go in, just play with the machine rates, get this strength training anatomy book, just go through the motions. And what you'll find, and anybody can go through the motions, right? It's not hard to go through the motions. And what you'll find is you'll get in the environment, right? You'll start to see other people. You'll start to be like, you know what, this is a little bit, I could do a little bit more than this. And then you'll eventually find yourself stepping into it. I can't stand when I hear that a trainer or a person has kicked their own butt, like day one, and they don't go back, right?
Yep.
It's like,
I've heard trainers going too hard, also trainers going too light. I've had patients, really struggling with weight loss, and then when we, get down to like, what are you doing at the gym? And, I had one lady who the trainer, she recommended that she always needs to be talking, right? Because otherwise, like, she gets too stressed out. So, they always had to be, discussing. And when I asked her about the intensity of her workout, it turned out that talking, did take her concentration, out of really mentally focusing into the workout itself.
Sure.
And, I find that myself too. It's something that, when you are working out, you do get the best benefits when your mind and your body is completely into it and connected. And,
I agree 100%.
Sometimes distractions, even in life distractions as well too, if our mind is elsewhere, we don't get the best benefit of that workout. And so that's why I love a personal workout, to just zone in, just talk to yourself, talk positive to yourself, and grow. And then, after the gym, deal with life problems, stronger than you were coming in.
I'm glad you went there, because it starts with the way I said, it's like, it starts with finding something you enjoy, and then getting a little bit more competitive at it, even if it's personally, and then involve the weightlifting and stuff like that, slowly but surely. And then you'll get to the point where it's like, you live for that extra, right? Yeah. It's like, you see me in the gym, and I actually get a lot of problems at my weightlifting gym. I get bullied on a little bit there, because like, I have a face at the gym, and it's not a face against the world, it's a face against myself, right? Yeah. It's like, I'm getting through stuff that's stressing me out. And so I don't have a very pretty face, and I stick to myself, and I have headphones on, and I'm in my own other world. I listen to my instrumental music, and I am conquering something at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can see that in my training routine too, it's like, and you will get there, right? It's like, it starts with this, and then you'll get to the point where like, this can be an amazing tool. And then, I don't know, personally, I'm a little sick, I guess. I beg for the pain. Like, and it's harder and harder to find it, because once you get used to it, it's harder and harder to get
sometimes
there.
It's uncomfortable at first, but then you get to learn that, pain is how you get growth.
Yeah.
And the pain of working out isn't so bad. A lot of stuff happens in life that, like people can betray you or lie to you. There's a lot of things, one of your best friends can die one morning. There's a lot of things that really hurt you in life. And the pain of the workout doesn't seem so bad, but it really does test your limits, and it teaches you, one type of pain that you can handle. And so, sometimes emotional pain and pain of life it makes it a little bit more tolerable.
It's so helpful in so many ways, and especially for business, you're gonna need it. It's a good outlet. I don't know anybody successful that doesn't have some sort of fitness in their life.
Absolutely.
It's a discipline thing. It's so many levels. It's important. And,
it's so important. I always wondered how in medical school, I was one of the few people who worked out, and it just makes you wonder. I mean, such smart people.
How is that possible?
They're such smart people. They're so smart, and they know how important exercise is. But sometimes even knowing about it, doesn't mean that you necessarily practice it or see it as something that you need. So it's hard to understand that
was a big issue I had in school. Is like, I was in a biochemistry track, and I kept having professors that were overweight and that sort of stuff. I'm like, look, this stuff. It's like, how can you be overweight? And there was one guy, he was like 6'5", probably, huge muscular guy, and he ran this department that actually I later did research in, because I'm like, here's a biochemist that practiced he was a monster, and so like, I ended up working in a spider lab for a year, studying amino acid content in spider silk. Yeah, and it was honestly mostly because this guy who was a biochemist PhD, like, he was like what I thought a biochemist should be, and that was somebody that like understood fitness and was into like fitness, workouts, that sort of stuff. I like understanding it on a very molecular level, what's going on in my body. I really do. But
I mean, I often say too that fit people are going to be the ones who change the world. Fit people are the ones who are able to take care of their own health and handle their own businesses, and they're the ones who are like, this is what's happening to me, and this is what everyone else needs to do. So I think a lot of us are the empaths as well too, and the big pharma and all the people who are not just thinking about themselves and things like that. I think they have a lot to worry about when fit people get into important positions.
It's so important to have some fitness in your life for so many reasons. And like, here's the thing too, it's like, there's a lot of kind-hearted people in the world. It's like, this thing right here is the most beautiful thing in the world. It's like and there's a lot of kind-hearted people out there that maybe don't have the external power yet, right? And that's one of the groups of people that I'm like trying to bring up in the world. It's like, you can create all this. This can all be, you can't create this.
No.
You are this. You are empathy. You are caring. You are heart. Now just bring yourself this. Get in the gym. That's why I say I want to make more kind-hearted badasses. If you're a kind-hearted person, please get in the gym. Please take a mixed martial arts class, because the world needs more of you.
Absolutely. And you can have the kindest heart in the world, but if you aren't a badass and you're not taking care of your body, you can just you can get walked over. And I see a lot of kind acts get walked over, and for those of us who try to act our best and follow with a good heart, it's something that it can be very crushing, and it takes a lot of your energy. And so I recommend, anyone, if you want to change the world or, help people and influence people, like we have to take care of our body. We got to be strong, because you reach a lot of negative reactions when you're trying to be positive.
I mean, I always give this analogy too. It's like I've started treating my life as a role-playing character. I don't even remember how many years ago. And it's like those video games where you build the character,
Yes.
and then you like make them chop wood, and then like they get better at that and they get stronger. Or you make them lift that rock and the strength meter goes up. Read the book and the intelligent meter. The second I started looking at that as my life, my world changed, right? It's like lifting a weight and I see this little bar going up.
Yeah.
Reading a book and see this little bar going up. Training sword fighting, it's like this little bar going up. Might not ever use that, right? You know, but it's like, I think it's important to be constantly building that character, because you never know what comes up. And my dad's 70 years old. He got hit by a car the other day and just walked away from it because he's been like working out. He has a lot of muscle, that sort of stuff.
Yep. Sometimes you don't know you need it until you need it.
Absolutely. That's why it's so important. So you're going to need it for business. When I'm talking about pre-work, which I have those videos out there, I'm like, pre-work for business. One of the things you need is a good workout routine. Find something that'll get you started.
Yep, absolutely. I agree.
So let's talk about just like a car. It's so crazy to me, actually, that people know that if you've got a car sitting in the garage and it's been sitting there for 10 years and you're going to go out on a race or even take it on a Sunday drive, it's like you're going to check the fluids, you're going to check the battery, you're going to like check the tires. It's like that thing's going to need a look over before you get it in action, right? Otherwise you can't expect it to perform, and we don't think about that with our bodies, and that is insane to me. And so Dr. Shell, we're going to talk now about hormones, blood work, that sort of stuff, which is your specialty. What should anybody do, especially if they're looking at a workout routine first?
I mean, you know what? When we don't have things under the hood in line, such as our hormones, our vitamins, certain things that are very important for our metabolism, we get weight loss resistance, which is very common. As we age, it gets even more difficult to control if we're trying to play catch up. But there are certain things that if we don't have in balance, you can work as hard as you want at the gym, eat the beautiful diet, and you'll see no results, and it gets very frustrating.
Yep.
Oftentimes those are the people who are just racking their brain for why their beautiful diet and consistent exercise isn't having any effect at all. And most often it's simple vitamin hormone deficiencies that just need to be balanced out. And so there's a certain panel of hormones in labs that I put together over the last kind of 6-7 years that I've just learned that these are just the foundational hormones and biomarkers that we need to understand for people in order to have optimal health. And I'm often the doctor that people will come to when they're seeing a chronic disease develop in the body and they're not yet ready for a medication. So often conventional medicine, unless you're ready to pull out that script pad, we don't really have an explanation for those patients. They're often just waiting in limbo and left to fend for themselves and find personal trainers and things like that of what they should do. But there's no real protocol. It might be eat whole foods, cut out your sugar, but there's no real direction. And that's what I really stress in my patients, and I work for them, because it's one of those things. Like once you understand the basics of what you need with your health, it's really easy to get them in line, and then use the basic natural lifestyle, good exercise, healthy diet to all put that all together.
And that's so I'd been working out about 26 times a week at one point, and I started to feel a little off.
26 times a week?
I know everybody wants to like count through it, which I'm glad to do with anybody if they want to, but 26 times a week. And I was actually running a business full time at the same time, but, and then other things, like there's time in life, there really is.
Yep, there is.
But, so I started I think this personally, it's like I started to feel off, and I noticed that because I was using my body at its very peak level. Right. And so I went to several doctors, and that's not like me at all, because I'm very doctor avoidant, and they'd say, oh no, you're getting older. It's like over and over again, like you're getting older. And, it's like, I finally found one doctor that cared and listened. Right. And I won't go into the rest of the story, but they were dead wrong in telling me I was just getting older.
Absolutely. Oftentimes we're told the story, you're just getting older. That's the reason for your symptoms. But we know how to fix that.
Yeah.
So it's not just getting older. There's supplements and vitamins and things that we can replenish.
Yep.
Certain things that we don't absorb well as we age. Certain things that we know aren't in our diet.
Yeah.
And so it certainly isn't true to just blame it on aging. Certainly those effects are maybe more susceptible and more pronounced because we're aging, but that doesn't mean that we can't fix it. And oftentimes there's not a medication, so maybe that's the confusion. That doctors
let's
haven't
go into
explained
that. And if you're okay with it, like I know you've talked about this before, it's like it should be malpractice if you're not looking at blood work and vitamin and hormone deficiencies before you're just giving a drug.
I absolutely believe that there's certain things that we commonly do that physicians in conventional medicine commonly do, and it's supported by insurance companies and policies, and oftentimes insurance companies dictate how physicians get to train and treat patients. And so, oftentimes due to insurance reimbursements and poor reimbursements for the amount of time, it's kind of a tell me your symptom, here's the medication, and that's all that they have time to. So it makes sense when we allow insurance to dictate how providers are funded and reimbursed. And that's unfortunate. I think if doctors had more time and better reimbursement and more reimbursement for prevention, if what we actually know was supported in the policies of insurance, then absolutely we would have way more people on fiber instead of statins. We have way more people on fiber and good healthy diet and understanding like what we need more in our diet instead of just waiting for the metformin or a blood sugar medication to come in.
Diagnosing the kids with depression, anxiety, and not checking vitamin D levels.
Exactly. There's so many illnesses that we commonly see. Some of the most common chronic conditions: high cholesterol, high blood sugar, insulin resistance, obesity. A lot of those are really a quick fix, and oftentimes if you're not ready for that prescription or you don't want to accept that prescription yet, you're not given additional answers. It's not something that you get 5 different options. It's really a one way or come back when you're ready to accept your fate.
Your blood work too, it's like demand your blood work and then demand more than the basic panels, because a lot of times, this is just my experience, you can weigh in on it for sure better than I can, but it's like in my own experience, they only usually want to give you a couple blood tests, and those will only tell you so much.
Absolutely. And it's something that a lot of the blood work that is done in your annual labs, it's just making sure you're not going to die.
Yeah.
It's not making sure you're healthy and you're, it's just making sure that your liver's good, your kidneys are good, and then of course your blood sugar and your cholesterol, because if those get flagged to the level that we need a prescription, you really are a lifelong patient.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but unfortunately, under insurance reimbursement, that's just the pathway that it goes.
Yeah.
And patients don't get the right lifestyle discussion of how we can do it naturally. And there's naturally sounds like foo-foo, but it's not a special supplement that's trademarked by a company that I support or anything. It's it really is fiber. It's we need to talk about fiber. That's why blood sugar is building up. That's why cholesterol is building up. Yep. We don't have fiber in our food. I was thinking too, like it should be something that is so get this. This is what I think is a policy of what it should be. So any fast food drive-through restaurant, they should have to give you a little pack of psyllium husk capsules. They should be acknowledging that they are making the chronic disease epidemic just skyrocket. When we know that, of course, it is a lot of fast food, and we can't just expect people to all of a sudden just cut out fast food. We have to. People are at all different levels, and we need to take baby steps. And if we can get these big corporations who are just feeding people crap food, we should at least be providing those people with the supplement to just complete the meal the best that we can. And when you don't have a fiber meal, what that does is you're collecting that cholesterol. That cholesterol is collecting. Same with that blood sugar. Your blood sugar is skyrocketing. Your insulin is shooting up. And so you need fiber to those meals. And then, of course, focus on fiber, all throughout the day. But for any meal that you don't have fiber in, you can just expect your cholesterol and blood sugar to skyrocket. And so if more restaurants and fast foods or Uber Eats, made it a thing, like let's let's defeat chronic disease. Like, let's change it. Like, fiber is a huge part of that we don't talk about.
We've talked about that before. It's kind of like the idea, folks, is like, okay, if you're going to have the crappy food, which we all know, it's like McDonald's is not good for you. You know, it's like Jack in the Box is not good for you. So Dr.
Those are my two favorites. I love those.
Dr. Shell's point is if you're going to do that, you know, then have some fiber.
I tell my patients, do it guilt-free. Like, I don't expect you're going to, you know, clean out all your cupboards and, you know, just be perfect, because I'm not perfect either. You know, diet is something that I struggle with. It's almost like I work out to eat what I want, and sometimes that is like McDonald's or Jack in the Box. And, you know, I know what's healthy for me, and you know, I really struggle with this. You know, I get so passionate about it because I feel like I'm just breaking it down to the basics. It really is the basics. And, you know, sometimes we make it complicated, like it has to be a fancy supplement or something that
people are always like, "What? Hey, Tyler, what's the 3 magic supplements?"
Yeah. What's the secret for it? And
supplements do, like, unless it's something like Dr. Shell's talking, like vitamin D does a lot. You know, fiber does a lot. Psyllium husk. But when you're talking about performance supplements, like we're talking protein powders, creatine's a good supplement. These are good, but we're talking about maybe doing 3% when you're at a certain level, in my opinion. What's your opinion on that?
Absolutely. I mean, as a competitive athlete, I've always looked for a competitive edge. In sports. Even when I was competing in tennis at about 10 years old, my parents were giving me protein shakes. Right, like trying to help me build my muscle, of course, like fish oil and things like that as well.
That was back when you had to plug your nose to drink the protein.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, my dad used to make it in actually like with ice cream and like actually like good stuff to make it.
We used to get it in a cardboard box in the bag, and you'd have to plug your nose. It smelled like rotten eggs.
Yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't as good as it is now. I do collagen protein now, and I just mix it in warm water. It goes down so easy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's so many things that we can just enhance in our diet. You can eat a healthy diet all day long, but if you want to optimize and be the best of the best, there's always more that you can add into it. And so I do love supplements. I love supplements because we can get a little bit more.
Yeah. But that's a bonus to the basics of having a decent workout routine, having a decent diet, you know. And like my thing is, it's like if you're gonna eat, you know, just get some good stuff in there too. You know, it's like that's my point to dieting and stuff like
absolutely.
that. It's like,
we're all at
different
different levels, so we just have to understand the basics and try to see how we can incorporate that. But there's certain things that we don't just get to cross off, right? There's a certain amount of fiber that we need. If you can't get any in your diet, you have to add it in. There's a certain amount of protein that we need. If you can't get it in your diet, we just have to get it in. So a lot of us adults just need to, you know, do a diet diary and really calculate how much are we getting, and then be honest with ourselves and supplement if you're not getting it.
Yeah, and there's a vast difference, folks, in like what Dr. Shell is talking about as far as supplementation and our sports supplements, right? If you take a creatine supplement and just sit here, it's not really going to do that much for you. You have to be actively doing all these other things. And so I deal with a lot of people that are like, what's the magic supplement? And there is no magic supplement, right? But there is supplementation. That's why it's a supplement, right? To all these other things. Or Dr. Shell's talking more of like a supplementation that's like health, you know, it's like psyllium husk, vitamin D, you know, these are things that like you need anyways.
Absolutely, and very inexpensive as well too. Psyllium husk, vitamin D, even vitamin B12, I love for saving our nerves and preventing neurological conditions like Alzheimer's and dementia. You know, and again, like something that's very difficult to get in our diet. And so, like I said, like if you meal plan, there's absolutely a way that you can make a beautiful diet. And if you're doing that, then awesome. Maybe you don't need supplements. But in reality, it's just that's just not the case. And so we just need to acknowledge that. And you know, I always say the basics. The basics need to be in line first, which is, you know, correcting your cholesterol and your blood sugar, which you know, usually comes from fiber, and then, you know, certain vitamins. And, you know, if we're above an age, usually above age 40, there's certain hormones that start to decline. And you know, sometimes they come to the point where no matter how much zinc or magnesium or natural vitamins that you take to stimulate your natural production of certain hormones, we do get to a certain age where it's like knocking on a door that nobody's going to answer. You know, you can take all the natural stuff to stimulate production, but eventually the ovaries, they just shut down, and you know, testicles, they just shut down. Like you're just not producing those hormones, you know, that we've had our whole life, and we're living longer than we ever had before. So it makes sense, you know, that our organs are, you know, kind of tapping out before, you know, we're ready to go. And so, yes, like you can get through naturally and live a healthy life. But when we're talking about quality of life, support of certain hormones that are just vital to the human body are you know, just needed. And not everybody needs that. There are some patients. That's why labs are so important. There are some women who are deep into menopause and their hormones are awesome, and they just need some vitamin D, vitamin B12 support, just the basic vitamins. So not hormone therapy isn't required for everyone, but it's all based on labs and interpreting the reference ranges appropriately.
Yeah.
So reference ranges aren't just okay, you're good. Sometimes it needs to be in a certain range of that reference range to have optimal health.
I'm glad you went there, because it's like the reference races in general, and help me weigh in on this. It's like they're going to say like, this is normal. Let's say 175 is normal, but they're going to call that normal from anywhere from a 14-year-old kid to a 90-year-old man. Yep. And then the other variants that people don't take into account is we're all different beings, So my base level for something is completely different than, some other man's base level, even at my age, size, whatever, we're different and our base levels are different. But the system, weigh in on this more than me weighing in on it, because the system is built in this, like, to fit in this perfect box, but we're all different individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. The reference ranges are really comparing the whole average population together.
Yes.
And, it's very serious, because once you pop out of those ranges, for the ones that are very important, once you pop out of those ranges, like, it's a big deal.
Sure.
Like, it's not just, oops, like, I'm out of the range. Like, for example, like low vitamin D, like, we're talking, like, that's the level that people get osteoporosis. So that's a big deal. It's not just, the autoimmune condition, the depression, and the anxiety, and, allergies, and poor, just feeling like crap. It's actually like holes in the bones are growing with that number. Yeah. So it doesn't take a genius to assume that maybe we should be way on the higher end range to even get, and we don't want to be anywhere close to the osteoporosis range.
No.
Right. And we're learning too that, like, the next kind of, 10, 20 points up for vitamin D, we're still in like the cancer and autoimmune range, so it's like we need to get up, but there's certain reference ranges that just, some reference ranges take 5-10 years to even change. It's things that we know, but you got to get the right stamp of approval, and there's a lot of conflict of interest in certain reference ranges it's hard to get the right information out there.
I really want you to get out of that. Part of this is get some blood work done, complete hormone workup, pass the basic ones that they want to give you, fight for those things. Know that the basic reference ranges, especially if you don't have a doctor that really specializes like Dr. Shell does, Dr. Shell's thinking out of the box a little bit, like we've just discussed. Hopefully we didn't go too deep in the weeds, because Dr. Shell and I are kind of science nerds, and so what you need to get is, like, there's people that know how to analyze it really well, like Dr. Shell, and there's people that are doctors that haven't been involved in it as much, and they're going to use those charts, right? And so really fight for that. Know about vitamin D deficiencies, because almost everybody is, especially if you have melanin in your skin. Yep. So Black people, Hispanic people, it's like you're especially susceptible to vitamin D problems. Right? Yes. And so you're going to need to supplement more and pay attention to that more.
Yep, even more. And I see, like, all the white population in Arizona is very, very low.
Don't care how much you tan.
Exactly. And so the more melanin that you have, the even lower that patients are. And so I really think, like, it's a state of emergency.
It's a game changer. And break it down really quick. Vitamin D deficiency, does so much. Give them a couple that like they'll feel different if they'll
absolutely.
They'll
Vitamin D is something that it is important for almost every process in your body, and without it, almost all of your hormones can't be produced to appropriate levels. And so low testosterone production, a lot of times just low serotonin and dopamine, which I always like to talk about, because you need vitamin D for even the synthesis of those hormones. That
anxiety,
essentially
depression.
Without them we get anxiety and depression. Vitamin D is very important for inflammation and autoimmunity. The first thing that we do for cancer patients is we get to the high end range. We get cancer patients 80 to 100. At that high end range, because we need the immune support that vitamin D does for that. There's of course bone protection as well too.
If I like Dr. Shell, she'll go on for 40 minutes on vitamin D, and we got more stuff to get to you.
Exactly. There's a whole list of vitamin D. Essentially, it's really a part of everything, and it really does shut down almost every process. And we're just not in the sun like we used. We're not in the sun like we used to be. It's the technological age, and we're just not getting vitamin D. And to top that off, the more body fat we have, it even goes down. And so obesity is a problem, and that even makes the vitamin D go down even lower. And so it's just inflammation, weight gain, and weight loss resistance is another thing with vitamin D. Is you just, no matter how hard you work out or exercise, if you're low, weight loss is very difficult.
There's a huge chance you're getting diagnosed right now with depression or anxiety, and it's actually a vitamin D deficiency. And so I want you to get hormone workup, especially if you're thinking about business, that sort of stuff. It's like you need this avatar no matter what. You're going to need it in business. Let's scoot over to stress.
Okay.
And some of the most stressed out people, we've talked about this before, that come in your clinics, first line defenders, right? Police officers, firemen, and entrepreneurs.
Yep. I have a lot of I have a lot of busy business owners and moms as well too.
Yeah.
Stress is a big thing, and it's largely unavoidable. We all live pretty demanding lives, and stress is something that, of course, like without the foundational hormones and vitamins in line, it's one of those things that I see it's very difficult to tolerate stress.
Yeah.
If you don't have good vitamin D, good vitamin B12, if you're depressed, that makes stress even, it makes you go down the rabbit hole a little bit more. Stress leads to depression, anxiety, and fatigue. It really shuts your body down. So it really is a whole cycle.
You're gonna have it in business too. It's business and stress go together. I don't care what they tell you online. It is not all working a couple hours, vacationing all the time. No, it's dealing with sick anxiety, stress in your stomach, especially when you first start your business. And so that's why I wanted to go into this fitness stuff, because you need a good outlet for it. And what people don't realize about stress, and this is the way I think about it, is like, we know about the fight or flight of an animal, right? Like the rabbit that's getting chased by the hawk. And what's actually happening biochemically in their body is everything is shutting down except the essentials to survival at that point. And what stress is it's kind of a similar reaction that we're having to the world. And what that's doing when we're in those stress states, it's shutting a lot of those in that moment emergency reactors down. So like things like digestion, things like sleep, fertility,
periods kind of shut off during stress.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely affects the body. And stress is very unique for all in how they process it. But certainly foundational health and exercise and the basic lifestyles, those help. I do think that stress is very important to work on your internal dialogue as well too. A lot of things and a lot of problems can be intensified if we're, not talking positively to ourselves and just being aware of how we talk to ourselves.
Yeah.
So I do believe that controlling your mind and being able to separate emotions and objective things and being able to compartmentalize things really helps to process stress.
It's crazy. There's those stories that we hear about the person like lifting a car off their kid, in the right scenario. It's like these superhuman things, and we don't think the mind's powerful.
I went to this some kind of Asian practice, and they were doing like crazy physical feats, and one of them he tied it was like a car, and it was a rope that he tied on his, I don't know where he tied, but on his private parts. And he was pulling the car, like showing like mind over matter. It's like,
I mean,
it's impressive, but it's like
drastic,
dang.
But it does show what the mind can do.
Exactly.
And so we've talked about this a little bit, just you and I offline. It's like having power of that mind, the things you're saying, to your mind, because your mind is so powerful.
Exactly. I think it really transforms it. Even when you're having a bad day or thinking negative thoughts, sometimes I just like to say, I'm thankful for X, Y, and Z. Just list a couple things that I'm thankful for in that moment, and something as simple like that, if you practice it, like it really does have some sort of energetic effect, and just helps the slightest bit. Sometimes when you're on those moments, the slightest bit of help from any type of technique that you're doing is worth it.
Yeah, that's another tie into the fitness stuff too. It's like getting those little wins, like that's a mental thing, for me at this point, and I know you're competing, so I know it's a little bit different for you, but my whole workout thing is for here.
Yep.
It's not for the arm. It's not for, it's for my mind. I need it.
I agree. And one of the things is when you're at the gym and you're really pushing yourself and really testing yourself and sometimes failing at weights that you thought you could have done.
Yeah.
That kind of practice sets you up for success in life in general. You're going to meet challenges and you're going to know what your limits are. You've already tested your limits, and you're ready for a challenge. And every challenge you approach with a little bit more growth and how you learned it, if you approach it in those positive ways. So there's certain challenges that we can't get around, and we know we got to face. And just prepping ourselves and talking to ourselves that this is how we grow. It is a really good approach for those things.
There's certain things I'd love to thank my younger me for. There's certain things I like to kick his ass over too, but like a couple things are like starting weightlifting, starting mixed martial arts. It's like people are always like, Tyler, 26 workouts a week, and you're like, but here's the thing. I never looked back at last week and said, damn, I wish I would have watched more TV.
Yep.
But am I looking back at like 30 years, whatever now, and said, glad I picked up that weight. Yeah, I'm glad I hit that.
Absolutely.
Tell me some things.
I say like going into the gym and eventually transitioning to strength training was the best decision I ever made in my life. Yeah. I'm a completely different person. Inside, I have the same heart. Yeah. I always say like I have the same heart ever since I was a child. I've always had an internal dialogue, talk to myself. It's advanced now. Sometimes like I feel like I'm breakable, which knock on wood, I don't want to say, because there's challenges in life. There's a lot of things that I know are coming, and every day I'm just preparing for those challenges, and to me that's fun. I have the brain that I love a challenge, and I'm very patient, and what else in life is there except for to push yourself and be the best person that you can be, and inspire and help people around you. To me that's really fun.
What are some other things you'd thank your younger self for doing, getting involved with?
You know what? For my younger self, I guess I've always had my own mind. I've understood rules, and I've understood what is meant, but I've always just been open to different perspectives. Yeah. I think sometimes when you're growing up, you can become attached to how your parents and your environment and what beliefs and things that they have. And, so for some of us, we're good with learning that, and we don't want to learn anything else. And, I think a big change in my adult life, I moved to the States to pursue mixed martial arts and get into pre-med and start those journeys. And, I think it really opened my eyes to move to America. I had, a complete different perspective growing up in Canada, and I almost had a distaste for Americans, and out of no experience of my own, just my upbringing, and of course 6 p.m. CNN every night. Yeah. Definitely persuades that, but I'm very proud of myself for always being open. I've always been open to learn and learn other people's feelings, and there's people who feel different than what I can feel, but I'm always willing to understand. And I think that's what makes me a really good doctor too. I might not be the smartest doctor, but I put my whole heart into it. I'm very passionate about it. I treat my patients like family, and I think about my patients. I'm constantly thinking about how I can improve and help, and that's a part that I really love about myself.
I have a doctor that changed my life, and when everybody was telling me that I was just getting old and that sort of stuff, and maybe, and it's like, and it was because she cared. Mm-hmm. It came down to because she cared. Yep. There is what I believe a cheat code. Mm. Like if you really want to like look into a cheat code and you're looking for that in life. And I know a lot of you aren't going to like what I'm about to say, but not doing drugs, not smoking, and not drinking alcohol, that's the cheat code.
Yep. I believe it. I believe it. Things that keep you in reality and just make you feel the process, make you go through the process and feel it. Absolutely. And I mean, life's a challenge, and it really is a blessing when you embrace the challenge. It really is a lot of fun, and it feels daunting, but when you take the first step and get into it and just make it your goal, like this is my life, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to believe in yourself and to challenge yourself, and not put any pressure on yourself, and take people's opinions for what it is, but just understand the opinion that you have of yourself is the most important.
A lot of people, a lot of our friends that you trained at ACS too, mm-hmm. It's like a lot of those guys, we'd run A Mountain together.
Oh, I love A Mountain.
I'd kill those guys on A Mountain, and they'd be always like, Tyler, how do you do it? How do you do it? It's like, I remember when I was a kid, we went and we rode a roller coaster. I was like 4 years old and I was so afraid. Mm-hmm. And my dad goes, tell it to go faster. Here I am, so afraid. And he's like, tell it to go faster. It's like, and that's what I used to do when I would work out, and like, it felt like I would run that hill or hit the bag or whatever. And I'd say more, give me more pain, and it felt like when it was my idea, it was more controllable, and then like, that was something that made it like possible to do more than I usually expected I could do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all have different ways that we, talk to ourselves when we're doing, different competitions. So, I mean, I definitely have a way to talk to myself as well too. And it certainly is, part of just like, you could dig deeper, like you got this, feeling my whole body. I love feeling my whole body. And, as I'm running, like trying to somehow like change the energy, like, I try to be in touch with my energy and just, I'm very imaginative. I've definitely kept my imagination since I was a kid. And I feel that that's very powerful when you do difficult things that, not many people do. It is something that you have to have an imagination to really see yourself, going past and being.
You totally do. And like, what's amazing is like the right song comes. We've all seen movies and we're feeling so motivated by the movie because the music's hitting right, the scene's hitting right. And like, if you do that, you could almost do that in the gym.
Yep.
And, and for me, like another thing that's been inspiring throughout my life is like, everybody telling me I can't do something. Or I'll be there on the pull-up bar and like, Tyler doesn't want to do another pull-up. And then I'll think to myself, I'm like, Tyler, they wouldn't want you to do another pull-up. All these people that treated you unfair or your competitors or whatever, they wouldn't want you to do another pull-up either. Yep. That's what helps me get that last pull-up.
Absolutely. It is really strange, actually. A lot of times that I've done, or just like walked into things, I don't really tell anybody. So like when I had my first fight, I only told like 2 friends. I didn't really tell people because it was like, I've never fought before. Like, I don't want to, but I didn't realize it was going to be on TV and big a big thing. I didn't really look into it, right? I accepted the fight 12 days later and didn't have, any clue, what I just watched. I watched like Chuck Liddell and stuff. Yeah. I watched UFC with my buddies. That was the time where like, Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz, like all those guys were really big in UFC. Yeah. So, all my friends, like we'd watch the UFC fights and all my friends were like, "Oh, we can fight," how guys were. And, I was just like the quiet one thinking to myself, like, I could probably fight too. I think I could. So, it just fell in my lap. But, I do remember that the right after that I did that, I was hit with back-to-back just negativity. I had never experienced negativity like that before, and it just clicked on me that I must be doing something right. Like I operate with a good heart, and there's no reason why I should be getting this hate. Like I always thought like I'm a good person. Like I wanted to inspire women to it doesn't matter. Just get yourself to a gym. Like go train. Like get in there. This is booming for women. We can all do it. And I wanted to be that female to get everyone to get into it. And I did get some females wanting to get into it, but they really hated on me. Like they're getting into it to fight me.
Yeah.
So it kind of turned on me. And fighting is it's an aggressive sport. So if you translate it in your mind as something as a hateful aggression thing, then maybe that can come like that. But it's I never experienced so much negativity as I did after my first fight, and it really never ended. It was one of those things of kind of like who does she think she is kind of thing. So I learned to really not talk about what I do, and I even to this day sometimes I'll tell it at the right time or tell it to the right moment. I don't just open up with, hey, I'm a professional fighter and this and that to, I feel the energy of the person that I'm talking to and see if that would be something that, that they would be interested in before I just drop it.
I have times in life where I'm like, where's my tribe? Where are these kind-hearted badass people that like deep down in they're caring, they're kind, but there's still the people you wouldn't want to run into a dark alley. You don't want to run into Dr. Shell in a dark alley. It's like, and what's amazing about this show is like, it does build my tribe because I have people like you that are kind people, and, Squally, or the judge that was just on. Everybody in a certain way is their own version of a kind-hearted badass. And that's what I love about this show. I hope today that you got something out of this because having any lofty goal in life is going to need a big avatar. And, and I don't necessarily mean in size, it's going to be somebody that's capable of the task, capable of the race, and you're going to need it for your business. I promise you right now. So get a healthy outlet if you're thinking about business, but in life, it'll make it better in every single way. So take homes today. What I really want you to get from Dr. Shell is get a workout program in some way, shape, or form. Get in there. right? I also get out there and get a hormone workup. I don't care what age you are, get that complete check done. Just like the car sitting in the garage, find out everything that's going on, because the more optimally you're running, the more all this stuff works, and then on top of that, vitamin D, psyllium husk, positive mindset.
Positive mindset is important for anyone who's starting out or anyone who wants to continue. This is a lifelong goal. Fitness is a lifelong goal, and just preserving your health and health and longevity is a lifelong goal. And the sooner we realize that and get into it, like the more you will look back one day and thank yourself.
There's something I want to leave you with today, and it is, if your heart's in the right place and you fear it, then you have to do it. And I know a lot of you fear the gym, right? But imagine building your avatar into somebody that's more capable. So if your heart is in the right place in something and you fear it, it is the ultimate in growth. Step in the gym tomorrow. If you're in Phoenix, let me know. I'll step in there with you.
Me too.
And Dr. Shell will. We'll get you past the front gate and get you started. Same time, hit me up about Strength Training Anatomy. I think it's a great book. They don't pay me for any of that. That's what I use to start. And we'll see you next time. I hope this was a fulfilling episode for you. Dr. Shell, thanks so much for coming.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. It's fun.
We'll see you next week. Hello and welcome to Underdogs, Bootstrappers, and Game Changers. This is for those of you that are starting with nothing and using business to change their stars. Motivating people who disrupted industry standards. This is the real side of business. This isn't Shark Tank. My aim with this podcast is to take away some of the imaginary roadblocks that are out there. I want to help more underdogs, because underdogs are truly who change the world. This is part of our Content for Good initiative. All the proceeds from the monetization of this podcast will go to charitable causes. It's for the person that wants it.